Well, I'm acutely aware, Charlamagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump, it seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
I'm not gonna say it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know what I mean? I don't tend to get upset over things like that. But what I did say,
well, you just not talk about wake-up call, and it seemed to me that that should have been a wake-up call on your part.
Woo! Larry Elder ain't no joke. Before we dive into this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you guys could please share so we can get the video and the word out there. So let's get right up into this. So where we have Larry Elder, somebody who is running for governor of California. And we'll get into that in a second over here on the Breakfast Club, just debating, going over all these subjects. And then they have this thing where they call it they use a different term, but a wake-up call, right? And he's asking Larry Elder, Charlamagne's asking Larry Elder, when was your wake-up call? And then he flips it on him instantly, like, hold on, first off, what about when Joe Biden came up there and said this to you?
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump.
And then you see what his response is. I don't get upset by stuff like that, just like I'm not getting upset with you. You see how he tried to flip it like a little bit of reverse psychology, like he's trying to bait him? No, he's just asking the same question you're asking him. This guy comes onto your show, right? Or it's remotely, or however you want to say it, comes onto your show and basically tells you if you don't vote for him, you're not black. That's what he's telling you. And there's zero pushback. Zero pushback. That's the problem that Larry has and a lot of other people have, where there is zero objectivity. If that was anybody else, put Joe Rogan in that seat, or like put Trump in that seat, put Alec Baldwin. Oh no, they'll probably be down with Alec Baldwin if he said it.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
Anybody else, put them in that seat, and he instantly would have flipped his lid. Charlamagne would be like, who do you think you are telling me I'll vote for whoever I want to? You don't control me. This is what I'm talking about, trying to hold us down. That's what the conversation would have been. But it wasn't that, because what? They're trying to promote and push a narrative. It's Joe, the savior, yada, 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 which most of these people can't even name one policy. And that's the problem, where there's zero objectivity whatsoever. And then on Larry Elder's front, people forget they were calling him the black face of white supremacy. That's what they were addressing him as. That was his title. That's how far that they go. You see what they're doing to Clarence Thomas in the Supreme Court. It doesn't matter what race or whatever, you can be black. Remember those people that were outside of the Glenn Youngkin thing? Remember he was running and they had the big bus and they had the tiki torches, and it's talking about these are white supremacists, but it's kind of funny that there's a black guy right in the middle. It's all this same thing. If you're against what they're pushing, they're gonna slander you. And once again, before we get into the final part of this, what about when the lady rolled up, and she's not even a lady because of what she did, when this chick rolled up on him in like a pink gorilla mask and threw something at him?
The California recall race really heats up. A protester threw an egg at Republican candidate Larry Elder today as he walked in Venice.
Transfer him with the Ketanji Brown Jackson Supreme Court Justice, or anybody else, Lori Lightfoot, put anybody. Don't we miss Lori, man? Where's Lori at, man? Chicago really needs her. Anyways, that's a topic for another day. Let it be anybody else. Or Kamala. Let it be anybody else. Somebody rolling up, a white person in a pink gorilla mask throwing something at him. Could you imagine? And that's what Larry Elder's getting at. You let him roll up in here, say this, and there's no pushback. But it goes a little bit further. Check this out.
And if I want to vote for Donald Trump, it does not make me not black. 20% of black people, black men, as I said, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Are they not black now? So only 80% of black people, black men walking around are really black, 20% are not, because they voted for Donald Trump. How insulting is that? How condescending is that?
I mean, you're probably right, but I didn't take it in that way.
Well, I did.
And you ain't black.
Right, and this is a guy, Joe Biden, who, when he first got into the Senate, hung out with segregationists, talked about how well he got along with them, talked about how he didn't want integration because of a jungle. This guy has made all sorts of insulting things to black people, and his policies right now are hurting black people. Inflation hurts the people at the bottom more than anything else. Letting a bunch of illegal aliens into the border are hurting black people more than anybody else, as I said earlier. He's opposed school choice when he has his own kids in private school, and we lost a year, almost 2 years of in-school education in California because of COVID that he supported. I mean, this guy has done monstrous things to black people, and then for him to come in here and tell you how you ought to think as a black person, it blew my mind.
And it's interesting when you watch that and he's naming off all of these things in Joe's past, like what they talk about, and he didn't bring that up, the 94 crime bill, all this stuff talking about the jungle animals, all this stuff that he's getting into. You see that Charlamagne sitting there agreeing with him. So this stuff was already common knowledge. All this stuff already happened before he was put in, right? Before all this stuff happened, that's what was going on. So you're saying that you knew about that and then you still voted for it? And that's the problem I have. These people that come out here and they complain about all these prices and all this stuff and gas, he told you, I watched all of the rallies.
But I'm going to shut down the virus.
Talking about snooze fest, to watch these rallies, all this stuff that you're seeing is what he was promoting. He told you what he was going to do with energy and with gas and fossil fuels.
Would you close down the oil
By
industry?
the way, I would transition from the oil industry, yes.
Oh,
I will
that's
transition.
a big statement.
It is a big statement
That's a
because
big statement.
I would stop.
Why would you do that?
Because
So none of this stuff is a surprise. The inflation, all this stuff, they're injecting all this money into these senseless projects.
Which is why we designed our climate policy and plan to give working families tax credits and rebates so they can afford to install new insulation and new windows, which of course increase energy efficiency and lower energy bills.
When you print out these billions and trillions of dollars, what do you think's going to happen? And then the government has to collect that. He said that he was going to raise taxes, and they talk about it doesn't affect anybody making under $400,000 a year or whatever the case. That's where inflation comes in, your gas, all that other stuff, the cost of housing, of a rental, of a car payment. That's your tax right there. That's what you're getting hit with. So it doesn't matter. They're getting it from somewhere. This money has to be accounted for. But he already talked about all this. You see, Charlamagne is just nonchalant. So if you knew all this stuff was going to go down, you knew about his past with the eulogy, you knew about the crime bill, you knew about all this stuff that he said about 7-Eleven workers, then he comes on to the show, he insults you to your face.
and you ain't black.
And then you're cool with all that still. Let's go, Joe. That's the problem. And then it goes to show that a lot of these people are not free thinkers. That's what somebody would assume watching it. Like, where if this was anybody else, y'all wouldn't be letting this fly. Anybody else was saying this, you would be instantly checking them. But because it's this, and it's because it's on one side of the fence, you're cool with it. And that's what Larry Elder is pointing out in this situation. If it was anybody else, they would be killing this person, completely slaying them. And that's the problem. And that's what a lot of people have with the media. You want to say, oh, this and this for this side, but you won't call it for this side. It should be a ball or a strike. You should call it objectively each way, and then they wouldn't have the problems that they have. But that's why the approval rating for the media is in the hole. That's why CNN Plus, before it can even get off the ground, it's done. Fox News, they're just cratering. All of this stuff, people are starting to see, like, hold on, this stuff is just a lot of propaganda. It's the same messaging over and over. They're saying, hey, listen to us. We have a stranglehold on the truth. Don't listen to all this other stuff. It's all conspiracy and right wing and savagery and racist and Nazi. All this, listen to us. We have the truth. They don't.
They're so upset about the messaging on the other side, the anger industry, the entertainment wing, particularly of the Republican Party, the surround sound on Fox with these, I don't even like saying his name, Tucker Carlson, or that other, I don't even know, the guy from it's just like they're all the same. And One American News and Newsmax, and what they're doing to divide this country to, where illusion rules, not facts.
Anybody, if I were ever to sit up here and tell you guys that I know it all, listen to me, they're all wrong, they're all evil, I'm a saint, I've never done nothing wrong, that's when you should run for the hills. And man, this dude's completely phony, because that would never happen, because that's not true, because I'm going to call it objectively, period.
It's true.
So let me know your guys' thoughts. Am I going crazy? If there was anybody else on that same thing, say it's Matthew McConaughey or Trump or anybody you want to name, Mark Wahlberg, put anybody in there, and they said the same thing that Joe said,
and you ain't black,
would the reaction have been the same? That's all I want to know, is if people truly feel his reaction would have been the same. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you guys could please share so we could get it out there. And I will catch you guys on the next one.